Hi everyone and welcome to Goyo Larrazabal's podcast. I am Goyo Larrazabal and today we have a good friend of ours as our guest, a super well-known how do you say
Restaurateur.
restaurateur and foodie and cyclist, our good friend Elbert Cuenca.
Hello, Goyo. Thanks for having me here.
Albert, thank you very much for being with us. I've known Albert for a long time. He's a
Yeah.
cyclist.
Yeah.
And even the time, no, sa mga Apple pa, di ba?
Yeah,
You
so
remember
that's the other thing I do. I
Yeah.
used to do is still a Mac enthusiast,
Yes.
and people still call me for help with their Mac.
Still now? Until
Yeah,
now?
until now.
Wow.
I'm still a help desk.
Okay. So, for those who might not be too aware, but they are aware of you, no?
Okay.
The Albert's
No,
restaurant,
no.
man, it's all over the place. But when they see kasi you have a new restaurant, Albert's Collective.
Yes,
And a lot of people have been raving about it. But
glad to hear that.
how did you start? I mean, how did you get into the food business?
I'd like to think that my journey into restaurants
Yes.
started as a kid because my dad was involved with a Japanese restaurant back in '77. It was
Wow.
called Furusato.
Okay.
So I was a few years old in Ross Boulevard. And,
Yeah,
you know,
that's a popular restaurant.
yeah. In fact, the Marcoses like to eat there.
Okay.
Including their security. They would come and pick up for Madame, whatever.
Okay.
And it was not that far from Malacanang
Yes.
either, right? So it was popular restaurant back in, it started in '77. And as a kid, sometimes this was the default restaurant for the family dinner after church. You go to church at 6 p.m. and then you look for a
You go to restaurant to
yeah,
eat, di ba?
and then it became like a default. And of course, in my head, I didn't know what I wanted in the future, but
Yes.
it's always in the back of your head that that's an option restaurant because you're so exposed to the idea of owning a restaurant, diba? But more than anything, I mean, my life went into at first good times. One of my first jobs was I did a sales job like most people did.
Yes,
But
okay.
in terms of uh, it wasn't encyclopedias I was selling. I was selling ad spaces door to door to people I knew, whatever.
Okay.
But you do a sales job as a way of learning what life is like out there, the hard work of walking around and visiting people.
You have to do that. We have to experience
Yeah.
what it is, di ba?
Yeah.
But wait, ad spaces.
Yeah.
For many of the young people now, whose only exposure is the internet and
Yeah.
social media, ad spaces for newspapers or magazines.
This was a trade publication for
Okay.
construction. And they
Ah.
wanted to have like a yellow pages just for the construction industry, it was almost like a magazine slash directory for construction, which is very interesting premise if you think about it.
Okay, again for our younger viewers.
Yeah,
Before we had the World Wide Web, we had the yellow pages, di ba? Na
exactly.
parang
This was our resource.
yeah. So if you wanted the number for a particular establishment, you have to get that thick book
Yeah.
and sift through the pages for particular
Exactly. In
establishment.
fact, connection with that, that's how I found my school when I was kicked out of San Agustin. Well, I can admit that now.
Okay.
No, sorry, I wasn't kicked out. We had a mutual understanding.
Mutual understanding.
They didn't like me, I didn't like them. So I had to go shopping for a school, and I found my school through the Yellow Pages.
To the yellow pages?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it ended up being a really great school, Maria Montessori in Pasay. And
Oh,
I
okay,
super
yeah.
enjoyed that. So, that's exactly what life was before. And so I believed in this idea of a publication for construction because a lot of us, if we're looking for a contractor, a roofing supplier,
Yes.
or a plumbing whatever service, to have that one guide that's related to that applies not just to industry but even to end users. That was a great idea, and I was on board for it. That was my first job. I was visiting door to door. We would make phone calls. It's landline, walang cellphone. You
I-
call appointment.
The youth now are so pampered
Yeah.
compared to before. It was so hard.
Yeah, and we would have to. I didn't have a car, so I would commute. I'd be in a necktie and then try to present this idea to a construction business, personality, whatever.
You have to wait pa, di ba?
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
So I think that still goes on today with med reps. They're the ones who
Yeah,
wake you up. Okay,
they go
they sell their
clinics, diba?
meds.
Ah.
But that line of work, wala na yan. Di ba,
Wala.
what we do.
These people just in front of the computer
Yeah,
just look at
exactly.
everything.
So from that first job, one of my first real jobs where I got a real salary was I was in a club Mars. So it was like disco.
Oh,
So
Mars.
so I don't know if
Huh.
it's really work because once in a while I'll DJ, once in a while.
Wait,
But I was
you
a
used to
mar-
DJ.
Yes.
Okay.
But I was essentially part of their marketing team,
Okay.
and so it was creative work.
Okay. Again, sorry,
Yeah,
let me
go
interrupt
ahead.
you.
Yeah.
When you DJ before, you actually used vinyl records,
Yes, nothing else.
not digital files, and
No,
it's hard to mix before.
and we didn't know what our BPM was. You know.
You had to.
No, we didn't count, but you had a feel, right?
Yeah, you had
Oh,
to feel it.
120 BPM, fine, whatever. This was the start of raves and techno. That
That's
time.
hard.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
For me, that's hard because
Yeah.
ang beat dun, it's hard to match it.
yeah. But I wasn't a good DJ. I mean, I was like pinch hitter if the DJs were late. And I was there, ikaw na, Elbert, and I would like, okay, then I'll play the crowd pleasers. And that time we had to do a lot of crowd reading. You really had to figure out how to fill the dance floor because
Yes.
that back then, that was the measure of a DJ, how much of the dance floor you could fill.
Yes.
Right? Today it's just you don't know. You have no metric if they're really enjoying. You have to look at their smiles on their faces or if they're bobbing their heads to the beat. But
Now it's the clubs or the places you're just in front of a table just
Yeah,
drinking and you're
yeah.
just dancing there in front
Yeah,
of
exactly.
Diba?
dance anywhere.
Yeah,
Diba?
dance
Then
anywhere.
you know if you're doing well because then you see the reaction of the crowd. But back then, you had a space called the dance floor.
Exactly.
I mean, there's still some dance clubs now, right? But it's not as uso as back then. Those the norm.
And kung walang tao sa dance floor, there's a problem.
Yeah. So back then, that was my first foray into quote unquote hospitality simply
Yes.
because we were serving drinks and food to people. But I was more on the marketing side.
Okay.
In fact, my job back then was to help create theme parties because we needed events where we could ask a drink sponsor to
Okay.
come in for a night, free booze from 9 to 11, diba? But there had to be a reason for the evening, like an event or a theme.
Yes.
So we came up with, in Mars, we always came up with crazy themes. Like we had Christmas and New Year's in July. So the eve was the 24th
Okay.
and then the 31st, so we had a sponsor for both nights. We had Santa Claus, we had
Would go there
yeah,
in the middle of July.
and then with little gifts in a sack, you distribute. And so, we'd greet each other, Merry Christmas, whatever, in July.
In July.
And then in the 31st, we had fireworks and our sponsor was Asti Spumante because, it's champagne-like or whatever. But there was one, and after Easter, we would have what we call a Mad Hatter's party. So people came in hats. In the
Okay.
summer, we would have this like a summer gig where we put all this sand in the driveway. It was so messy, and people came in beach attire.
Into a disco.
Yeah.
Into a club.
Yeah. But the sand was the gravel and sand, hindi beach sand.
Okay.
Ang hirap linisin after, but we'd park a jet ski in front, just to make it seem like, then we'd have a drink sponsor, we'd have limbo rock contest, whatever. So these are the things I used to do back then. It was creative, and I realized that I like being in the creative side of things.
Okay.
But eventually, for some reason, my life directed me towards retail of electronic items because I had this passion for electronics, for computers also.
Yeah.
I didn't know which was which, a hobby or a passion, but I was so into computers, and at that time the Palm Pilot was the rage.
Oh yeah. Oh my god,
So-
that was a nice gadget.
Yes, and I was a consultant in Republic of Malaten. I was seen there by a friend who put up a new store and said, "Can you work for me because as a manager in a retail store?" I said, "I don't know anything about retail. I know service, I know food, clubs, whatever, but retail, I don't know. I'll teach you along the way. But what I want is you believe in customer service in the restaurant level. I want to apply that in a retail
Yes.
scenario." So it was the first interactive store with all the gadgets in front. Usually, diba, gadgets used to be behind glass shelves.
Yes.
This is the first one interactive with all the alarm.
And you can
system.
touch it, diba?
Yeah, so-
you feel.
And then the idea was, let people actually hold it, play with it.
Fidgeted.
And then we hired people who knew specs, and so we were all geeks teaching people about gadgets. And so from that, I ended up working for the distributor of Palm,
Yes.
which eventually became an Apple distributor. And that's how I became an Apple guy.
Apple guy.
Yeah,
Elbert is one of the guys before who was at the forefront of Apple.
yeah.
Not too many people used Apple pa before,
Back
di ba?
then, in fact, when I started, it was my wife who was using Apple.
Okay.
She was in publication.
Because di ba, what do you call advertising usually uses Apple.
Yeah, so creatives back then.
Creatives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you whether you were laying out magazines or writing, Apple was the tool for creatives, and the PC, the IBM PC, was more for business.
Yes.
So I loved using my IBM before, which is now called Lenovo, by the way.
Yes.
Diba? And I would spend so much time tinkering with it because you defrag, you do this and whatever to make sure it runs its best, and you realize you spend more time tinkering than actually working. And when I got my first Apple, it was the candy-colored MacBook.
The one,
iBook, sorry.
yeah, the iBook. Is it the one with the parang like a
Yeah, clamshell they called it.
Yeah,
It looked like NASA's toilet seat, whatever. But, di ba?
Yeah.
Plastic.
But it looked nice,
It
huh?
was nice. And then when I had that, that's when I discovered wait, where's the defrag? None of that existed. And then I realized there was so much simplicity in the thing.
Yes.
And that, wow, I would forget my charger at home and I wouldn't worry because it would last more than a day. It was amazing. And that's what got me into Apple. And then, so I was back then the head of our Palm user group called Mapalad, witty name, by the way. Diba?
Yes.
Mapalad.
It is.
And then I eventually, same people from Palm, we all became Mac heads,
To
and then I became the Mac user group head. So I was working for the distributor while heading the Mac user group, which was like a cult because, diba, everybody, mainstream was PC.
Exactly.
We were Mac. So that's how I was so deeply involved with Apple. And then one day, I don't know, I had this desire really to put up a restaurant.
Okay.
There was an itch that I said I didn't know which was going to be my main source of income and which was going to be my hobby, whatever, right?
But you
could
like
have
both. You like doing both. Eh?
Yeah, I like doing both. So I became like a disciple of Steve Jobs and all his mantras about the simplification of processes, or
Okay.
make people give something that people didn't realize they needed or wanted until when you gave it to them is when they okay to di ba?
Yeah, parang,
It's exactly what Apple is to me.
Yeah. I didn't realize that this is what I was looking for already. Yeah.
So that was all those things that were very Steve Jobs. I applied into the restaurant business. So I put up my first own restaurant with someone else's money. Back in 2002.
What was the name of this restaurant?
It was called Restaurant 12.
That was a popular restaurant.
Yeah. Before that, Furusato became run not but by my cousins, no, because from my dad it filtered down family business.
Yes.
And then we modernized Furusato. That was back in 95. And then I transgressed to IT a lot.
Yes.
And
But you went back to
in 2002 I decided, no, I really want to put up my own restaurant. I had a great idea for it, so I put up a flashy restaurant in Greenbelt, and it was so spectacularly amazing. And then it so spectacularly flopped within 2 years. It's
yeah, but
just like that.
okay. It was what's the word? It was so out there. Everything was
Yeah.
in your like advertising the signage, right?
Yeah.
It was, but what happened after? I mean, say what happened after Restaurant 12?
Yeah. So, it's like you feel like a puppy with your tail down and your head down because you feel like you've lost face of the world. Because the thing about restaurants is you become a public figures of sorts, right?
Yeah, because
you
you
are
see
the
all-
face of the restaurant.
Yeah, and you see
Yeah.
all these people there, and
So some people actually are misguided into thinking that restaurant ownership is all about the ownership, when it should be the opposite. It's about being of service. You're
Yes.
more a servant rather than a big time owner. The only difference kasi is let's say compared to businesses, right? If you own a business, the only people who know you own that business are people you deal with in that business.
Yes.
But in a restaurant, everybody's your customer, and then you get recognized as an owner. It's like an opportunity to be mayabang, di ba?
Okay.
Because you can show off that you are an owner and this is mine. But for me, that was never the idea. But that is an effect of being a restaurant owner. You will be recognized. You will be known by, at least by your customers or anyone who reads about your restaurant.
They naturally associate with you.
So when that restaurant failed, of course I felt like I lost face because we had so much marketing, we had so many events, we were so popular at the time, and then just went all crashing down for many reasons. Okay. And when it did, I felt like I lost, you know, the world. Parang it was like the end of the world for me. It's like someone pulled the rug from under my feet and I didn't know how to get back up. So it was a very humbling experience because one day you're up, you feel like Leonardo DiCaprio in front of the
Yeah,
Titanic,
Titanic, yeah.
and then all of a sudden it hits an iceberg. It's exactly what happened to me.
Okay.
Okay. So tail and toe, I just tried to pick myself up, and you know what I ended up doing? I I redefined myself and I decided to become a personal Mac tutor.
Okay.
And
What's a personal Mac tutor?
so there, you know, it's funny because you have a personal trainer, right?
Yes.
I'm that guy who does the same thing but with your Mac.
With your Mac.
I will sit with you for a couple of hours and I will teach you how to use your Mac because back of my hand, I know where everything is in a Mac, right? I know how to operate it. And in fact, because I work with the distributor, I had training modules for, for teaching usage of apps and OS and whatever. So I knew how to teach people
And
how to use the Mac. Yeah.
and many of the people you deal with, this is the first time they've actually used a Mac, and it's different approach kaysa PC, di ba?
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of them first computer even, di ba?
Yes.
But-
First computer.
But a lot of them were mature na. Their capacity to understand technology, I wouldn't say it's less, no, but a little more resistant. They're a bit, how do you put it, wary of the fact that I'm old now, I can't learn these things, and I'm the one who enables them to think that no, you're no different from your kids. In fact, once we're done here, you're gonna be the one teaching your kids. So I enable them.
Their fear of
There's almost like
learning, di ba?
there's a fear because they feel they might get embarrassed because their kids know so much more than them. So I'm the guy who enabled them. But the great thing about this journey of mine becoming personal Mac trainers, I met so many people. Word of mouth lang to
Oh,
I start with one client, I sit with them in a cafe or in their living room, couple of hours becomes 3 hours. And because you spend so much time with these people, sometimes they'll call me 3 times a week. And then so you get to know each other, you become friends, and then along the way I met the late Archie King.
okay.
He was one of those guys who wasn't embarrassed to ask. He knew he needed to learn and he needed help, and
You reached out.
I would even do his Wi-Fi at home, stuff like that, and he became a really close friend. And one day I had this idea for a restaurant comeback, and I decided that I would do the opposite of everything I did in Restaurant 12. So instead of being flashy, high stakes, high profile, high concept, high marketing, high visibility, I decided to do everything low, hidden,
Discreet.
basic, straight to the point. The very Steve Jobs kind of like, don't have so many steps to get from A to B. Just go straight to the point, give the experience, whatever. So, and I presented this idea to Archie, not because I wanted him to invest, but
Okay.
because I needed some guidance.
Okay.
Because he was a very wealthy businessman, right?
Yes.
He liked the idea and he said, "Oh, I'm in." And I said, "What do you mean you're in?" And he goes, "No, I'll invest." I said, "No, I'm not. I wasn't asking you to be an investor, but of course, if you're going to invest, I would love it." So we became partners, and he was one of my greatest mentors in business because I'm a lousy businessman. I'm a concept guy. I like to operate whatever, but when it comes to the business side of it, I'm a bit weak.
Okay.
And that's where he came.
That's where he came in.
He guided me, and so that's where Restaurant 12 became steak room. Steak room was a turning point for me where that's where I established myself as a legitimate restaurateur.
And the steak room is still there until now.
16 years old now, so 2007.
And that's a really nice place. As in,
Yeah.
you wouldn't think that there's a really
Yeah.
world-class restaurant
Yeah.
there. You have to go up, di ba? You have
Yeah.
to go up. And when you last time we ate there was with Jeremy and
Yeah,
Jeremy sees it.
Yeah, yeah.
And he loved the food, man.
Yeah.
He loved the
Yeah,
food there.
exactly. It shows up in my memory. I remember now that we had with Gyuto and all, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
had a nice dinner just to celebrate his birthday, right? So we've been around for 16 years. We haven't changed anything in the processes or the experience because it's what works, right? And it's what people.
If it broke, why fix it?
And and going back to what I said earlier, it's one of those things that you didn't realize you wanted or needed.
Yes.
But when you actually do it, you realize, wow, I want to do this again. So that's how I make that work. Is I focus on the experience. Of course, the steak has to be great. But that's what we do.
Yeah, but I've met so many people. Top of their list, steaks in Manila.
Yep.
Elbert's.
Oh,
Definitely, without a doubt.
Nakakaya naman if we're not because that's all I do. I have no other item on the menu except steak. Tapos hindi pa masarap. People are going to wonder if it's, are you just hype or whatever? You have to back it up,
Exactly.
right? So if that's all you do and you're focused on it, how can you not be good at it?
So the steakhouse is known for amazing steaks,
Yeah.
a chill ambience, and the vibe talaga. It's hard to find anywhere else.
Yeah.
So yun talaga.
I can't replicate that. I wouldn't try to replicate it. It is what if that closes down or because I have to move out, it will never be the same. That whole experience is based on where it is and what it does.
But how many tables are there?
We used to have 7, we now have 8.
But
That's it.
You started with smaller, di ba?
It's an interesting story because we started with 3 tables
3 tables.
simply because I ran out of money along the way.
Okay.
Okay. And so the 3 tables, I had to open. I had beef that was in the chiller that was going to go rotten already. We imported it from the US. We knew how to cook it, but I needed to start cooking it. So I said, even if we're not yet finished, I'm going to use the 3 tables that I had. I was really planning to have 7. I had
Yes.
the space for 7, but I started with the 3 tables. So I had enough money to buy the linen, cutlery, plates, glasses for 3 tables. And the money that I earned from that, I used to buy more tables and more glasses and more cutlery. So the restaurant was being funded by its profits to
That's
complete.
just a lot how good it was,
So,
di ba?
but it's kind of gutsy to do something half baked. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like it's not yet really 100% presentable. In fact, my first customer, we had no bathroom. I said, "How can you open with no bathroom?" But I had to open, right? He went into my kitchen to wash his hands because he wanted to wash his hands before eating, which you should do
Okay.
anyway,
Yeah,
right?
you should do.
But that's how unfinished we were.
And okay, you open the restaurant with just 3 tables, no advertising,
No,
no signages.
none.
So the restaurant just grew by word of mouth.
Yeah, and it's a good thing you raised that point because I thought of putting a sign, of course. It's just that we weren't finished yet, and I
Okay.
didn't have the money for the signage. I didn't even know where to put it. I had a logo. I was ready to make a sign. We grew and we grew and we grew, and I said, "Why?" You start asking yourself if you're full every night, and we were. Every
Yes.
table was used every night. When it became 4 tables, all 4 tables. We were even turning down people to say, "I'm sorry, we're full," right?
Before,
And then one night, Raul Flores,
Oh,
right?
Raul.
Okay.
Oh.
So Raul and his wife, Jeng, they walked into my restaurant. They had a reservation.
Verolame is a really tough and grabbing athlete yan.
Yeah,
Sobrang
yeah.
galing yan. Anyway.
So he and his wife, they went, I think it was an anniversary or whatever. They had dinner in the steak room. And I hadn't met Jeng before, but I knew Raul.
Okay.
So Jeng walks in. She's a bit flustered, and here I was welcoming guests personally. I said, "Good evening, welcome to the steak room." She looks at me and goes, "Why don't you have a signage? Why don't you have a door?" I understood she was upset because she couldn't find the restaurant. So it was too hidden.
It is.
But it wasn't by intention, ah.
Okay.
It just so happened that's the space I found and could afford.
But that's part of the allure.
Yeah. It wasn't by design.
Okay.
It was by circumstance that I was there. And so Raul came up and said, "Hey, sorry I'm late. I sent Jeng up ahead because they wanted to respect their time of rest, which is very gracious of them. Di ba?
Exactly.
If you say you're coming at 7:30, shop at 7:30.
Show at
So
7:30.
she rushed up while he was looking for parking. That's why they were a bit separate, right? And since she was alone, she couldn't find it. She was upset, and rightly so. I would be upset too.
Okay.
So at the end of the dinner, they had called for me, and I said, "Oh no, here you go. I'm gonna get a sermon." So I came up to them during their dessert, and I said, "So how was your dinner?" And Jen goes to me. I remember the words. She goes, "You know what? Don't put a signage. Leave the door as it is." And I understood what she was saying.
Okay.
That was part of an experience that
Yes.
they don't want to, that they value.
Yes.
So from that moment, I said, "You know what? I won't." So I never put a sign until now.
It works.
It works.
What do I say?
So, and it becomes part of the charm and allure that it's like a secret place, right? So
Yes.
there was speaking of secret, I was interviewed just before the pandemic by Channel News Asia about secret. It was called Secret Delicious. So they wanted to show secret places that, where you can find great food. And of course, he called me, a friend of mine from Singapore. His name's Onko, and this was his show in Channel News Asia. And we were talking about all these speakeasies, right? It became a thing.
Ah.
And then he goes to me, "You do realize that you're the father of the modern speakeasy in Manila, right?" And I said,
Huh?
"No." He goes, "You are. Because
Galing.
before the steak room," he did this research, right? Before
Yeah.
the steak room, there were no speakeasies. And I started thinking about it. I said, "You're right."
Oh wait,
Yeah.
okay, for those who might not be aware, can you please describe what does speakeasy mean?
Back in the Prohibition era in the US, it was prohibition, meaning say you weren't allowed to serve alcohol.
Yes.
Right? Nobody was allowed to drink alcohol, but so they had to hide their bars. So they called them speakeasy, and literally meaning you speak easy about it, like softly, when you want to tell people about
About
a secret bar. So they were called speakeasies, right? So that's the short version of that story. So speakeasies became a thing.
and you are considered the father of speakeasy.
Yeah, but I corrected him. I said, "Okay, that may be true, but that is purely circumstantial because I never designed it to be a hidden restaurant."
It's not naman intentional, di ba?
Yeah.
You normally when things happen, di ba?
Exactly. So it was just by circumstance.
Yeah.
We ended up doing that because that's what was presented to me, or what became available to me that I could afford. And I remember my beef supplier walking up during construction. He goes, "I don't know, man. You better pay cash for your beef." Because he was worried that I
He was
wouldn't be
worried
able
about
to
the
pay him. No, yeah,
Okay.
diba?
But this goes against the common perception that it's all about location, right? Because
Yeah.
people say that, I have to put a restaurant here because ganda ng location.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened here.
Well, like again, taking lessons from my restaurant 12, I had the greatest location in Greenbelt too. I was even in the car drop off on the Esperanza Street, huge sign. I was so visible. That's the greatest location, yet I failed, right? So then I started. One of my inspirations for putting myself on the third floor of an old building in Salcedo Village, okay, was that
Now, without any signages,
without a
but when
signage.
you go there, it's
Yeah.
always full.
Yeah, well, not always, but most of the time.
Most of the time.
The reservations recommended. But one of my justifications and inspirations was Antonio's
Okay.
and Sonia's Garden, right? So people ask me, "You think people will walk up 3 flights of stairs? There's no elevator?" And I said, "Well, people drive 2 hours to Antonio's. Why can't they walk upstairs for
Exactly.
me, right?" So that was one of my ways of justifying what I was doing. That other places can give you a harder time, but if you're rewarded when you enter, it's all worth it, di ba?
Exactly.
So I may make you walk upstairs. Until today, I'll make you walk up the stairs. But when you go and it's like, okay, now I know why I walked up those stairs.
When you go inside kasi the restaurant, it's like you're transported to a different place
Yeah.
altogether. Diba? Parang it's
Yeah.
like, wow. Who would have thought a restaurant like this is in this building
Yeah,
serving this delicious food?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Galing yun.
exactly. So there was no Facebook, no an Instagram. They had no marketing, and in fact, it was working so well that I didn't want to jinx it.
So you didn't do.
So I purposely didn't publicize it. I had media friends. My wife was in the media; she's an editor.
Yes.
So we have media friends in Inquirer and Star and all these magazines, and they all were bugging me because, of course, they want to outdo each other in being the first to feature you, right? One day, Thelma, someone of Inquirer,
Yeah.
she was upset with me already. It's like, why don't you want me to feature you? Why are you, you know how they're so competitive. Eh? Are you siding with the other side instead of us? Thelma, sabi ko, let's just have dinner, and I'll explain things over dinner. But this is not work, ha?
Yes.
It's just social. So we had dinner, and when she was there, we were full. By chance, it was super full. And out of the 7 tables, she knew a person in each table.
Wow. That's
Okay.
impressive.
And then she goes to me, I understand it now. Let's not write about
Yeah.
this. So you know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
that's how it worked. And now I'm a believer in anything, even in bicycles, right? If you build a great product, the word of mouth will be the best testament to advertise your wear,
Exactly.
right?
The people who like in the restaurant, the people who ate there are your best
Marketing tool.
marketing tools, diba?
Exactly.
So yun.
So that's how it works.
But okay, so about 17 years na, diba?
Yeah. So you're
But-
17 this year.
Turning 17 this
Yeah.
year. How has it been? Like a lot of people kasi especially during the pandemic,
Mm.
they had some issues with regards, you couldn't go out.
Yeah.
So how was it for your restaurant na in the middle of pandemic, everybody's had to stay home, eh? So how
Yeah.
would you cope?
And then my food couldn't even be delivered because a steak is supposed to be something that you go out for.
Exactly.
And if you just eat it home, it's no longer a celebration. It becomes, it's not a match, in other words,
Exactly.
right? We survived because I always make it a point that in everything I do, there's a relationship, right?
Yes.
Let's say with my supplier, I'll always make sure that we're friends.
Yes.
So when the day comes, you need each other's help, diba? You're there for each other. So the same goes with my landlords.
Okay.
So we're friends, and the funny thing was almost all my establishments, it was the landlords calling me saying, "How can we help you?" Because we're friends, eh. As opposed to me writing a letter, "Please help me, I
Please
cannot
help me."
afford rent."
So
Because-
sila yung sumusulat sa iyo.
calling
They're the ones
me,
who- calling
they
you
approached me because they were concerned because we're friends and they want to help me survive, right?
Yes.
So I had a bar in BGC. Obviously, bars were disallowed, and my landlord was also like my partner investor in it. He said, "Hey, don't worry, I won't charge rent." I said, "Thank you. I didn't even
Okay,
have to
yun.
call you." Then for the steak room, same things. Like, do you need help? Can you just write us a letter so that we have it on record that, Sabi ko, really, you want me, I mean, you're willing to, the rent was so cheap to begin with. That's why I love where I am, eh. He said, my rent's so cheap already, I should be paying. No, we want to help you. Just write us a letter. Sabi ko, what will I say in this letter? He said, I don't know, ask for a discount. I said, how much discount can I ask for? He goes, that's up to you. This is what kind of relationship, di ba? He said,
Galing,
just
no?
ask us anything. I said, oh, what if I ask you for 50 off? Sure, we'll give you 50 off.
That's it. He said 50.
So, okay, so I wrote a letter, went on, on word pages. I wrote a letterhead. I emailed it to her, and she granted it, 50% off as long as I said conditional to the reopening of business
Yes.
by the IETF. And then we were still my admin girl. She was still struggling to make payments because we had to pay the terms of our suppliers. Eh.
Exactly.
So even if rent was running, we had previous bills that we had to pay off. There's no cash flow to pay all of that.
So everything that sa pandemic, everything closed. You couldn't even go out of your house.
Yeah, so what happened pa was the landlord called my admin and said, I noticed you were late in paying the rent that we already discounted. And they go, do you need more help? They talked to my admin, not me, my accounting girl. And then she goes, yes po, we need more help kasi hindi talaga namin kayang bayaran. She goes, oh, sige, can we give you another 25 off without my knowledge? But this is, again, a result of relations. That's why I believe in relations.
Exactly. You build relationships, eh? Diba?
Yeah.
You build relationships. That's what's
It
important.
can't be a purely business,
Oh yeah.
association. It has to have some emotional connection. So same with my pizzeria. That's a corporation, but because we had this personal relationship, whatever I asked for concessions, they extended it. They extended because they value me as somebody who's a friend to them.
Okay.
Diba? So that's my advice to everyone in this world is whenever you do business, whether it's a teller in the parking, facility, say hi, say hello, good afternoon, because they should be your friends, because one day you never know that there could be something that you might need from them or they might need from you, and we help each other out, right?
Exactly.
And if there's something that the pandemic taught me, guys, that we should help each other out, that we should exist for each other,
And if
right?
there's something I can do for you,
Yeah.
I will. Kung kaya.
And so this is become, I take it to heart nga, especially my biggest turning point, I'm going to digress a bit, was Yolanda.
Okay.
When Yolanda happened, it was tragic. The way
Yeah.
to see those scenes was heartbreaking.
It was
Can't-
really
and then
bad.
the personal stories from friends who lived in Tacloban, how they lost, family members, or how they almost lost family members, how they're having to pick up their lives, and it was so devastating. Alam mo, it depressed me so much, but it made me shift my way of thinking. I started being more altruistic, knowing that the world is bigger than me,
Okay.
that I was always concerned with other people's, well-being in their lives. So when pandemic hit, our taking to heart the whole effect of Yolanda on me, di ba? When pandemic hit, I mean when the closures of the
Yes.
ITF came, my first concern was my staff.
How
I didn't worry about paying rent, suppliers. No, to me, the staff, because how are they going to survive with no job? I couldn't pay them, diba? Because there was no cash flow to pay them. So we found ways first. Like one is we released half the 13th month because I owe them that anyway.
Yes.
Whatever cash I had, we managed, and then we did the takeout business, and then we split the money amongst all the employees. In fact, Metronome, it had just opened, my French restaurant, and I'm a partner in this new venture, right? It's 6 months old, and all of a sudden you're pandemic faced, right? So what do you do for your staff? So me and my partners, we agreed to do different food for delivery. It was like casual food, not from our menu.
Yeah.
Created new food, and what we did was we would deduct all the operating expenses and the salaries of the people who made that food. Whatever profit we made was distributed equally amongst the staff because we were living for our employees, and that's exactly what I'm saying. And parang when we know that the world is bigger than us ourselves, diba? We start to care for others, and we know that the purpose of our lives, right, is to be there for others.
Okay. During the pandemic, you not only took care of your staff,
Yeah.
you were actually concerned about other restaurants also, because
Of course.
I remember before that you would reach out not only for yourself, but how about people similarly situated? How would they be able to recover,
Yeah,
diba?
yeah. The one of the good things that happened out of the pandemic was a restaurant owners got together.
Yes.
We used to be casual friends, and fair weather, and that deep down inside you look at each other's kalaban.
Oh,
But we were all in the same boat. We were the ones most affected by the pandemic.
that was really
right?
bad.
So, and we started thinking about the collective impact, right? How many employees, not just employees, suppliers, employees, and then you start to think families,
Oh,
diba? Ang dami. It's like it's far-reaching, the effect, right? It's not just about the people who work in the industry, but the people related to that industry, right? So, I became very vocal.
yes.
And then the rest of PH, I was like their mouthpiece for Elbert. You can do the dirty deed for us, the stuff that people can't, say publicly. Go ahead and do it for us, please. So I would challenge, ask questions, and appeal more than anything else, appealing to the public for a little more understanding and concern, and for
But kasi going back to what you said, no, you were doing this not only for yourself. You're doing this for the other people in the industry,
Yeah.
and which is makes it even more noble.
Yeah, well,
Sorry, I have to say that because
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a lot of people did only for themselves. Ikaw, you were helping others. You were helping others similar
but
situated.
it all has to go back to the idea of service, right?
Okay.
Restaurant, the restaurant is all about being of service.
Okay.
We're servants. We are servants to all the customers who enter our door. So why does it have to be limited to just your space?
Tama.
Why can't you be a servant for others outside your space,
Good point.
right? So that has been, and like I said, Yolanda really, it's huge impact. I used to be a complainer on the internet, and maybe that's where I get my guts to say things on Facebook and whatever. But when Yolanda hit, I don't know if you look back at my posting timeline, I stopped complaining. I started appreciating the world for what it was and started to help each other, because when you complain, you're actually pulling something down, di ba? There's a way of complaining constructively, of
Yes,
course,
there
right?
is.
But my complaints used to be personal. I would be upset when a cashier gave me coins instead of bills. All these little things that they don't have. Should I pull other people down with my little problems? So I start to think about that when I post things. It's like, how does this benefit the person reading?
Yes.
If I can post something that makes them happy, great, even better. So I'm a bit more of that guy now. I'll post something useful, informative, something you can use, or something that uplifts you, picks you up.
Makes your life better.
Yeah, makes you feel good, whatever. That's the so sometimes I'll be a joker, di ba? I'll come up with nice, anecdotes and whatever, because I'm an entertainer, I guess. That's what, as a restaurant operator, that's what I do. I'm an entertainer. And the customer is an audience. They come to us the same way they would watch a movie, right? They want to escape,
Yes.
right? So why can't we do the same thing that directors in cinemas do? Captivate them for the moment you have them.
And I'm in the restaurant eating good food,
Yeah.
great ambience, cool vibe,
And good service too, of
good
course,
service,
right?
diba? And I
So-
want to come back because I want to relive that.
Yeah. And for us, I always believe that eating out is an escape, di ba? For that moment that you're in a restaurant, it's like being in a cinema. The outside world is filtered out. So whatever problems you have, you kind of filter out,
Tama.
right? So that's what we do. And I've said this many times. The beauty of the restaurant business, as opposed to, let's say, as a form of entertainment. If you go to cinema, it's two-dimensional.
Okay, yes.
You smell, not smell. You see and you hear.
Here.
Right? The rest of the senses aren't really affected, except in form of imagination. If a good director will make you understand how stinky a scene is, you're going to, oh my god.
You think about it.
But it's imaginative.
Yes.
Kami, it's literal. We cater to all the five senses. It's all literal. Your sense of touch, your sight,
Taste.
sound, all the five senses is represented in a restaurant experience. So now I have to make sure that it's a balanced, experience sensually.
Okay.
We are a sensual experience, 100% all the senses. So it could go negative, like if your aircon is hot, the sense of touch, right? You feel hot, you're gonna be sweaty, then all of a
Exactly.
sudden it destroys the experience. But if you don't notice if it's cool or it's hot, it's just tama lang.
Just the right
Then
temperature.
then you can take care of the other senses now, di ba? You can take care of the sense of smell. You can take as long as basta all the senses are represented. So, but sometimes it's possible to have such parang okay, I used to be in a ramen business, right?
Okay. Yes.
And I remember how our aircon broke, and I said, "Oh no, we're gonna fail one of the senses, right? Because you're gonna be sweating." But people are lining up. It was so hot and sweaty and smoky. But because the food is so good,
They
parang you balance off the negative, and in the end you kind of even it out, di ba?
okay lang kasi I don't care if I sweat. Basta sobrang sarap ng
Yeah.
pagkain, di ba?
So then you know you can have sort of like an imbalance of the experience. Like, so in the terms of steak, the steak is such an uplifting experience that I can be excused a bit with the rest being a bit mediocre, in fact. But I'm not going to rest there. I'll always make sure I can pull them all up. But I don't wanna overdo it naman. It has to be balanced, di ba? So I tell my staff the same thing, that we're the only business in the world that takes care of all the senses, all the five human senses.
Okay.
Right? We're the only ones.
Galing.
When you think about it.
Yeah, that people don't understand that that's what happens when you eat in a restaurant. Eh.
Yeah.
And it's part of the experience. It's especially if you're with family. But now, how do you think the restaurant business has have we been able has the restaurant been able to recover from the pandemic?
It really all depends who you're talking to. Some will tell you that 2023 was their best year ever. Some will tell you that it's 2022. Some will tell you that it's still not pre-pandemic levels. So we're still in recovery.
We are still in
Yeah,
recovery.
and
Okay.
and did we make up what we lost in those two lockdown years?
Mahirap yun.
I don't think we ever will.
Okay.
So we just have to move forward. I mean, we've gone through a stage. We can't look at it as let's make up for what we didn't make back then. We just have to live with what we have today and survive the next,
How many years? Hopefully, wala na
So,
pandemic, ha?
yeah. So I don't think we'll ever recover. But the good effects are things like there's some market corrections, like rent is finally correcting in the sense that it's not increasing. It's a bit plateaued right now because malls are even more flexible now.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
They used to be the hardest to negotiate with.
Okay.
People think you can't negotiate. The truth is everything's negotiable. Right?
Everything's negotiable.
But
diba?
but they're more how do I put it, accommodating. You know that before the pandemic, yeah, if you close a restaurant in the mall, you had to tear everything down, even if your aircon was still working, even if the gate of your door will be exactly the same gate that the entrance,
Yes.
those curtains,
Yeah.
those whatever. The next guy will have to put one. They will ask you to remove everything because that's part of the deal. The next guy has to put brand new everything. So it's costly for the next guy.
Yes.
And for the guy who already lost his
It's-
business, masakit pa because
Masakit yun,
all of
eh.
a sudden you have to put in storage. There's no way you can liquidate these things. Di ba? But post-pandemic, they allow you now to take over restaurants. It's your choice as a new tenant. Wait, tell the guy to leave the exhaust. Tell
Or-
him to leave the aircon.
Or I can pay for that na lang.
Yeah.
Or
And
I
then
can-
they'll negotiate between the two tenants.
Yes.
We mean to say it used to be that no, you cannot cross over like it has to be brand new everything because we don't want you to have a leaky aircon just because it's 5 years old already. Mga ganyan. Now, they will allow you to talk to the previous owner to buy whatever's in there and you can leave it in there and then build around that, like new furniture, new flooring, whatever.
Better.
So
more understanding now.
so these are the things that the pandemic has brought to us. And there are many restaurants now who like to do this mode of expansion. They'll look for a restaurant that had just closed down, diba? They'll
Okay.
tell the previous owner, wait, don't take anything out. Let me see what I can use there. O sige, I'll make a deal with you. I'll buy this for this much. I'll tell them all we're okay na. And then you take over lang. So it's cheaper that way, right? Because you don't have to do the plumbing anymore. You don't have to
Laking
do
tutupid
the
yun. Tipid yun,
mechanicals.
no?
Yeah. So this is a nice effect of a positive effect of the pandemic. on us.
Oo. One of the few things now. But
Yeah.
hopefully it'll, like you said, people corrected themselves and
Yeah.
some aspects of the industry corrected themselves. Diba?
It's not normal yet. The way people go out, it's not normal. Maybe this year will be normal. I say this because 2022 was a huge spike for my restaurants.
Yes.
Huge. It was like, wow.
Everybody wanted to go out.
Yeah. So what it was, when we call it revenge spending,
Okay.
travel wasn't normal yet.
So
But you see, 2 years of not spending on eating out, traveling, right? You had ipon. So it was revenge spending. They had extra money to spend. They were eating out. So we were, especially my high-end restaurants, we were beneficial. It was no, we were the ones benefiting from this revenge spending. Now here's the problem. 2023 was revenge travel naman.
So they wouldn't anymore eat in the They would say they would travel.
I'm losing them to other countries right
other
now.
countries. Oh.
And then if you look at your Facebook and Instagram, you're gonna see your friends always traveling 5 times in the year.
Exactly,
It's
diba?
abnormal
Yes.
the amount of travel people did in 2023.
Bumawi sila eh.
Yeah, but I'd like to think that this was just a phase. This is just a phase that we're all going through. Because even I traveled a lot last year, more than I normally would. I like to think that it'll have to even out because it's not sustainable to travel as much as we did last
Yes.
year. I'm hoping this year people stay in town and go out and eat out normally na
Yes.
because we're still
Parang nag-balance out na, di ba? Parang
Yeah.
left, next, right.
yeah.
It's
Sana we're
Sana.
hoping, but
Sana.
because the economy needs the help, obviously.
Oh,
because
exactly.
rather than spend your money out, in other countries, why don't you spend it here? Diba?
Okay, so in your you have several restaurants. Eh?
Right now, I have 3.
3.
Okay.
Okay. Out of those, like, can we if you were to eat in your restaurant,
Yeah.
each restaurant, one dish that you would recommend
Okay.
na you would like to eat.
That's like asking somebody which of his children is his favorite. Eh.
I know you don't want to play favorites, but
No, that's tough because obviously in the steak room it's just the steak, right?
Yes.
But
okay, but for example, steak. I read an article you did. They interviewed you on how to do the perfect prime rib.
yeah, that's out there in the internet.
Okay.
I shared with the world how we do prime rib in our own restaurant. Hopefully, you can recreate it at home if you want to. Someone actually asked me and said, "Are you crazy? You're
You're giving
you're giving away your own
exactly.
secret." And I said, "No. The truth is, everything I learned from the internet.
Okay.
I need to pay back. I need to back. That's for me. That's the karma of this world. You want to even things out. Say, yeah, what I know, I will share because you come to me for a great experience anyway. You can recreate my steaks in your house, but you're never going to get the same experience, right?
In the restaurant.
You're just going to get one part of it, the food, and hopefully, because I taught you how to make the perfect prime rib at home, you start thinking about me because, I gave you that idea, right? How to make the prime rib.
So, okay, I've done the perfect prime rib at home. What other steaks can I try out in Elbert's that might have a different taste? Di ba?
Yeah.
So,
No, but essentially, it's just me. In the fact that I'm in your head is enough for me.
okay.
Whether not you come to me, okay, better if you do. Doesn't matter in the end because as long as I'm in your head as the guy associated with steaks. Because now, if someone asks you, Goyo, where can I have the great steak? I just had great prime rib at home because Elbert taught me you should go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was like,
This is almost like if you wanna, pay me back, di ba?
exact.
So, you'll recommend me to someone else because magaling talaga yung steak nila. I can even make it at home.
You're like,
So, I want to be that guy in the top of your head when you associate, that you associate with steak.
okay, so your steakhouse, prime rib. I would suggest prime rib because
It's a lunch thing for us.
Okay.
But you can request it for dinner.
you can. Okay.
Okay.
But how about the 2 other restaurants?
So, the Metronome, where I'm a partner, we have an egg dish called egg.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites because it's umami-licious. It's mushrooms and sous vide egg and so it's really one of those things that gives you this warm embrace kind of food. So I'll probably say that was my favorite there.
Okay.
In my collective, it's really hard because
There's so many choices
Yeah.
there, di
no,
ba?
the story of the collective kasi was all of the restaurants that I've had before in the casual scene, I have high end, di ba? Steak
Yes.
rooms high end, metronomes high end. But most of the restaurants I branched out to do were under the Albert's banner, which is the steak room. So I had a sandwich shop, I had a pizzeria, I had a bar, right? And all of them kind of failed for whatever reason, one way or I mean, pandemic or whatever.
Many reasons.
But I also came to thinking that maybe these restaurants didn't have enough uh, draw to stand on their own.
So it's so
So
specialized, no?
yeah, so like sandwiches. Not a lot of people accept sandwiches as a meal.
Yeah.
That's why our fast food always has to have spaghetti and chicken, right? Because hindi pwede yung burger lang, di ba? That's not lunch, it's a snack.
Yeah.
So that's that. So I'm thinking now. Although I believe that the sandwich is a meal. I mean, you ask any Englishman, they eat sandwiches 3 times a day. They're the world's largest consumer of sandwiches. I still believe that yes, it can be a meal. You
Okay.
just have to see that, right? But it's hard to put an entire restaurant just on that premise,
Just on
and then
sandwiches.
but it's hard that the market still doesn't generally accept it as such. So I'm thinking now, maybe I can do what the Avengers did. Di ba? But each superhero can stand on his own, but collectively, when they
Yeah.
assemble, all of a sudden may laban.
Yes.
So that's the idea behind collective. So all those little ideas I had that worked out at some point but tapered off and failed in the end, I put back together in one store.
And it's like sorry, but I think somebody described it as like the like what's the word? Parang a smorgasbord of everything you can.
Yeah.
Parang different choices
Yeah.
all in one place, di ba? Na I want sandwiches, I want
Yeah, and then even the lunch from the steak room, we had casual off, we call them parang beef byproduct dishes.
Okay.
Kasi like the tail end of a tenderloin steak is a tip eh. So we chop that up, we make it salpicao, di ba? Then we would make a dish out of that. So burgers also from trimmings, di ba? Ganyan. We made them a menu for our lunch in the steak room. Now I moved those dishes to collective.
To
as
collective na.
just to give it, a variety. So if you go to Albert's Collective, you can take your family because even the kids have something to eat. Your grandparents have something to eat.
Yeah.
You can go there for barcada because there's something for everyone. You can go for a casual business meet. You can go alone if you want to eat a sandwich.
It's
quickly
inclusive
alone.
na,
Yeah.
diba? It's inclusive. Eh.
But because it's so broad, there's something for everyone. And whenever I look at the restaurant and I try to figure out who my market is, because we're new, we're just 6 months old, right? I'm trying to figure out what market have I established here. It's still so undefined because all kinds of people. Every day at any given moment, I have a broad market. I have employees, I have executives, I have ladies who lunch, I have family outing with stroller, I have people walking their dogs, we're dog
All
friendly.
going to your place.
At one given moment, and at any given moment, it's a a big cross section of Makati society. It's like,
Galing ah.
but it's because the food nga is so varied and casual and approachable. That's why it's like that.
So if I go there, that one I cannot ask because it's so varied.
Yeah.
I cannot. Parang
Yeah.
what would you recommend? What's
It- So I'm an emotional person. I go by feel always.
Okay.
So it'll be what I'm in the mood for that day.
yes? I want the burger now. I want
Yeah.
pizza or
So whatever you're craving for, I might have something for you, diba?
Galing.
So that's how it works.
So you mentioned that you travel, diba?
Yeah.
More this year than
In
previously.
2023, yes.
Yes. If I were to ask you 3 places you've been to and restaurants you've eaten na you want to go back.
Okay. What would they be?
Yeah. 3 places. Pwede local, pwede foreign.
Um, in my last 3 travels, I remember we ate at a place called Born and Bred in Korea, in South Korea.
Okay.
It's Korean beef, hanwoo. And
In Seoul.
Yeah, in Seoul. It's Korean barbecue, but it's like they made it like high level,
Another level.
fancy. But it's the same food you can have in the street, which is pretty much the staple diet of every South Korean, the bulgogi, right? But this is like top level, and it was such a nice experience, very elegant. That's one.
That's one.
Um, I don't know. Hong Kong. I ate in Shanghai.
Where's
Uh,
that?
it's in that new mall called something 80. I forget the 820. I forget the name of the mall. Okay. Anyway,
But the name of the restaurant is
Ye like Yeezy.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Shanghai.
Yeah, Shanghai.
And they had a wonderful mix of dim sum and Cantonese and whatever. So I know the name is Shanghai, but
Yeah.
the food is Hong Kong,
But that's in Kowloon side or Hong Kong side?
Hong Kong side.
Hong Kong side.
Yeah. Oh wait, sorry. See, I'm lost. I think it might be Kowloon.
Kowloon.
I could be wrong.
Basta,
Yeah. I mean, you look it up, Yi
Yeah,
Shanghai,
you can.
right? And then I think they have two branches, in fact, in Hong Kong. So
They
it's
do?
possible that they're in both islands. So,
about that.
but this is just top of my head
Yes,
stuff.
yes,
It's
yes.
not that. It's not like yung sobrang sarap that I still dream about. You know, kind of.
Dito, top of your head.
Yeah, these are just top of my head.
Third.
Even in Osaka, we went to Osaka in Dotonbori, just little stalls. You know, I ordered this. I forget the name because we just walked in.
But really good.
It was like a dish that had uni and ikura and a raw egg yolk over sushi rice. Oh my goodness. Color pa lang eh. Parang, di ba, you have the orange, si salmon roe plus the kind of yellowish and solid uni. And then the egg yolk is, di ba?
Yeah.
The egg yolk of Japanese
Iba-
egg yolk is so orange, di ba? So
Iba
deep
talaga.
orange. When you put it all together, wow.
Even their egg sandwiches in their convenience stores
Yeah.
already good.
You know, like, even, there are things like you have to do locally. Like, okay, I know there is cocoa curry here, di ba?
Yes.
But the cocoa curry in Japan is so different. Okay.
Compared to here.
So someone asked me why are they scrimping here. I understood what it is. You can't curry kasi can't travel because it's very short shelf life.
Okay.
Because there are fruits in there, whatever. So they spoil easily. So it has to be kind of eaten fresh, and you can only do that in Japan because they don't have a commissary here to do that.
Wala.
So what they ship here is a version of their curry that's sellable in other countries. So if you go to Hong Kong, there's a cocoa curry. It's not as good as Japan.
Yes.
It's still good, but it's
It's
not,
not as
good.
good as there.
Diba?
Tama.
So you have a basic craving for that flavor, fine. You can get it in the local branch. But when you go to the one in anywhere in Japan,
It's another level altogether.
wow, grabe. Iba talaga. Fast food lang yan for them, di ba? It's
Oo,
not
but-
really, but sarap.
Sarap eh.
So yan ang mga comfort food ko when I travel.
So, okay. We're January now.
Mm.
Start of the year.
Mm.
Any plans for... Because before, kasi I read somewhere that you don't plan, di ba?
Yeah,
You don't
I
plan.
take
It's-
things as they come, yeah.
Yes.
So the next project is a bar beside Metronome
Okay.
because that had been closed for a long time and I kind of now negotiated with the previous owner, similar to what I was talking about
you
earlier.
get this.
So we're working on that. Hopefully within the first quarter of this year, we'll start. We'll
So something to
operate.
look forward to.
It's a bar, yeah, cocktail bar. Very different from any cocktail bar I've seen.
But, sorry, cocktail... So, not too much on food na. Wala
There's
na.
food,
But-
finger food,
yeah.
but the focus is on lounging around. So the food is more casual, more finger food, but really focused on the drinks, the libation, cocktails, beer, wine, stuff like that.
Something different.
Yeah.
How do you think the Philippines is... The direction of restaurants in the Philippines as compared to other cities in Asia?
Tayo kasi we're slowly accepting the idea of eating out. It's not yet there like in other countries. Okay, I don't know. But I can explain this as a cultural thing. Filipinos in general, we don't eat out.
Okay.
We eat out because of the circumstance, right? We eat out because we're already out. That's why cinemas, di ba? There's always food or restaurants near the cinema. Because you will eat out in the mall because you're gonna watch a movie. You might as well eat in the mall.
Tama.
So you eat out because you're out. Whatever reason you're out. Doctor's appointment, dropping your kids off at school, whatever it is. You're out, you'll eat out. If you're home, you're going to eat home. You don't go out
You don't.
just to eat.
When I lived in Cebu, I would eat out only if I could not go home.
Yeah.
Parang, okay, I'm eating here because wala nang time to go home and
Yeah.
eat. Wala. That's probably
No, yeah, culturally nga, we were raised kasi with the idea that food is eaten at home talaga because
Yeah.
there's always somebody to cook our food at home.
yes.
Whether it's your mother or your katulong, diba, the cooks, there was always food at home. So
Yes.
the default is we eat at home. But if you're already out and it's a hassle to go home just to eat,
You just eat out.
you're gonna eat out. Diba? So
But it's not the primary rule. It's not the
no,
first.
basta
It's not the preference.
to
talaga.
eat out you have to have reason to eat out. You know, it's
Yes.
it's not just because you need sustenance.
Yeah.
Unlike in Hong Kong, Singapore, people generally their kitchens are untouched because they eat out.
Eat out.
So eating out is a function. For us, it's more I don't know, circumstantial and celebration also, birthday, graduation,
Tama.
anniversary, you eat out, diba? So what we need is for people to be out so that more people will eat out, right?
Tama.
But what we also hope for is that one day, and it's slowly happening, where people they're at home thinking, I want a burger, so they'll actually go out to have a burger, right?
Parang you're at home, but you still go out
Yeah.
to get what you
Yeah.
want to eat.
So even if
no?
you're already at home, you still go out.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that this becomes a little more normal. It's hard for us right now because we still don't have the same level of expats we used to, right? The expats, of course, when they're here, they don't have cooks in their.
Yeah,
they're not
they
going to
just-
eat in the hotel all the time, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's normal to them to go out just to eat. So we don't have enough of that also. So we're struggling because we don't have the same market. I mean, when I say we're struggling, it's not like our businesses are bad. It's not as great as before because we don't have the market that we used to have.
As compared to when you look at, like, for example, Hong Kong, parang, uy, even if the number of people are the same, but since more people eat out,
Yeah.
potential is higher.
Our tourism is something that affects us because all of those people will eat out, diba? That's the economy. That's why tourism as an economy booster, right?
Yes.
We need
Pre-pandemic, we had 8 million eh.
yeah.
Next, we went obviously because the pandemic went down. We're trying to recover.
Then
now.
even to be honest, even the pogos were actually good for us. They were eating out.
They were eating out.
They were spending a lot of money eating out. But there's less pogos now. Obviously, it seems like it. Right?
Yeah, so-
this affects us as well. See, but where we will go this year, I think, like I said earlier, I think it will normalize this year. So at least the locals will start eating out, supporting our industry more
Hopefully, oh.
this year because it's not sustainable to keep traveling the way we did last year.
Not everybody. Okay, so
And- Yeah.
go ahead.
And then as far as restaurants growing, there is a trend. People think that the restaurant industry is, where the money is. But more than anything, we have a new generation, you could say, of restaurant owners, okay? And you know where they start out? This is fun. This is my observation. I don't have hard data on this. Coffee shops.
Coffee
For the
shops?
past, even pre-pandemic, coffee was the hottest business. That when you go to or trade expo for restaurants, Wofex and whatever, it's all coffee. Because it's the easiest business to get into.
Sorry, I don't drink coffee.
Yeah.
By the way.
So
It's-
coffee, espresso machine,
Yeah.
whatever. Because people now, coffee is a thing. Everybody loves coffee, right? We can thank the likes of Starbucks for that because it made it so mainstream na, di ba?
Okay, sorry. You're also a cyclist. I'll interject this. You're a cyclist, and after you bike, there's a lot of cyclists. After they bike, they go to coffee shops
Yeah, exactly.
and drink coffee.
Yeah. It's a fuel, right?
Okay.
So it's the easiest business to get into because it doesn't take a lot of money to. I mean, yes, they're expensive machines, but let's say 300,000 for a espresso machine, 100,000 for the grind. So maybe for $1 million or two, you
Yeah.
can put up your own coffee shop.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. As compared to like a restaurant that
Yeah, ang daming equipment for kitchen, whatever. So, no, it's an entry point for many restaurateurs. And it's happening, di ba? They're entering this whole hospitality space through coffee shops.
that's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
So we're going to see a huge boom and growth in restaurants in the coming years, simply because we have so many new players entering through coffee.
Okay. So, you mentioned that there's a number of young entrepreneurs who want to get into the restaurant business through coffee shops.
Yeah.
Have you, through the years, had celebrities or personalities who work with you or for you? Parang
How
as an
so?
apprentice. For example, I read an article one time that Stephanie Zubiri
Yeah.
worked for you before.
Well, she didn't work for me.
But she apprenticed. She
Yeah,
apprenticed.
no, the Restaurant 12, the concept before
Okay.
kasi was on having guest chefs.
That she guested.
Yeah, so that was her first ever cooking stint for the public, where customers were paying to eat her food. So she didn't really work for me.
Sorry.
She used my restaurant. I mean, I gave them the platform, di ba? She used my restaurant to have her first, you know, uh, I guess sale.
You gave her a break. We say
Yeah.
it was a good thing, diba? But were there other personalities who you might have helped also, diba?
Offhand, I can't say. I can't remember. Like I don't even see that with Stephanie as helping her. You know, she was really on that path. I was just the
Okay.
first one that she did, right?
Okay. But that goes sa akin kasi is you've been in the restaurant business for a long time and you've helped so many people.
Hmm.
Na parang that goes to what you said before na at this point we need to help each other.
Yeah.
We need to help each other for the industry to grow, di ba?
Yeah.
Parang if there are more restaurants, there are more coffee shops, more people, there are more places for people to go. And
Yeah.
I want to try this coffee shop. Oh, there's another coffee shop.
Yeah.
We'll try it,
Yeah.
diba?
And so coffee shops also helps let's say there's a whole plethora of coffee shops everywhere. So now customers are spoiled to have choice, right? No longer is it just a Starbucks or a Bose, di ba? Or a Coffee Bean. That there are the small guys. So the effect I see there is that there's this new mindset of exploration. Let's try something different, something new. You never know, di ba?
Yeah.
And you might be surprised, in fact, because the small guy will probably do something better pa nga because they're more focused, less systematic. They're more
It's something-
flexible.
and it's different. It's a
Yeah.
different take, diba?
Yeah. So the cause and effect nga of this whole coffee thing for me is good for the industry because um, it on the market side, on the customer side, it kind of educates them about eating out, trying something new, stuff like that. And for the entrepreneur side, because there's so many of them, then one day they'll have to graduate to becoming a real restaurant, di ba? Because what's the next step from coffee shop? Restaurant na,
Restaurant
di
na.
ba? So this is what I feel is good for us. The whole coffee thing. Every time this WOFEX happens every year, it's all coffee
Oh,
and you can see where the crowd goes. They don't care about refrigeration, barbecue, whatever. They're all there in the coffee.
coffee.
Oh my God, ubos lahat ng coffee. Dati you could even buy beans before on the last day.
Wala na, ubos na.
By the time the event's over, there's no coffee anywhere.
Wala na, ubos
Yeah.
na.
People are into coffee.
So that's it, no? That means say coffee shop, then they'll graduate into
Yeah.
restaurants. But through the years, do you have a plan, like for or you have an idea na, I want to collab with this chef or this individual na I want to work with and do this project.
Uh,
Or
thoughts like that will always come.
It will
to my
always
head.
come.
Yeah, but whether or not it happens, that's another story. So like in the case kasi of Metronome, I met the chef.
Yes.
It was all serendipitous. Serendipitous. No, we were introduced by her cousin. He told me I need to meet her. I said, why do I need to meet her? I said, no, you have to meet her. So we met. I tried her food, and before I knew it, I said, we need to open a restaurant for this chef. She's so good, di ba? So I'm always I'm a bit passive when it comes to these restaurants. I'm more reactive than forward thinking. Like I said, if it falls in on my lap or it's in front of me, I will not deny it. In my head, I'm always trying to create. I'm always coming up with new ideas of maybe I can do this, but I don't pursue it unless. I mean, I have a data bank of all these ideas in my head. Then one day, something presents itself, and I can pluck something from my head, just for that. That's how it works for me. So, are there celebrities or chefs that I want to work with? Yes, in my head,
Yeah.
they're all lined up. Ang dami.
And you're just waiting for the right time. Parang
Uh,
if it happens, diba?
Yeah.
Parang
If the world, conspires to make it happen, it'll happen.
it will happen.
That's how I feel. Diba? That's how I feel
Galing,
about things. I'm really more organic than anything. If I was just a businessman, Goyo, I would have 20 branches of restaurants right now. I'm not that. I'm a different kind of restaurateur. I'd like to limit the number of places I have because I want to be able to interact with my customers.
That's the point, diba? For me, that's more important,
Yeah.
diba? Na parang like I go to your steakhouse. It's
Yeah.
in your name.
Yeah.
I know that it's going to be good food, and your brother cooks there.
Yeah, exactly. So
Diba?
our approach is more on the personal level. Not to say there's something wrong with being a commercial, endeavor of having 500 branches. There's nothing wrong with that either. But we both provide needs
Okay.
for people. Diba? What's important for all of us, what we have in common, is that we're there to provide the needs of our customers when they need us, right? We're like doctors and nurses, diba? Time will come when you need us, diba? You need a doctor in your life, you need a nurse in your life. You have to be there for them at that
Exactly.
moment. That's how I feel we are.
Exactly. We're not.
So we try to stay open, even on holidays, we'll stay open, stuff like that, because we're supposed to be there for you when you need us. When do you need us? Oh, it's Christmas. I want to eat Christmas dinner. I'm there for you.
We're
This
there.
year, we're closed on Sundays normally, di ba? I mean, this is a rest day.
Yes,
I,
yes.
I like to have a rest day, a universal rest day for my restaurants. So Sundays were closed, but New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve fell on Sundays.
So you were open.
We open
You open.
for our customers, and then we just fix the day off for the week, di ba?
Adjust
So,
naman. So, Albert,
yeah.
it's been a
We
pleasure.
didn't even talk about bikes, no?
We did not. Wait, sandali. Before we go.
Oh.
Okay. Before we go, you're a cyclist.
Yeah.
You've been biking for a long time.
2009, when
2000.
Tony Cancho lent me his Ventana X5 and we went to Silang.
The bike, and that was a all mountain bike, right?
Yes.
All mountain bike. But you ride around the city now.
Also, yeah.
You ride around the city, and you have a very beautiful steel gravel bike made by
CC.
Sisip.
Yeah.
It's a steel bike, custom fabricated by Jeremy
Yeah.
Sisip.
Yeah.
And isn't that the cool thing?
Yeah.
The guy who built your bike ate in your restaurant,
Yes.
di ba?
When I first met him, I messaged him, di ba? We were in Sonoma.
Oo.
I said, I gotta see you because, I have a CSIP and I'm Goyo's friend and whatever. So we meet and I take a picture with him, right? I said, it's not every day you meet your bike maker.
Exactly.
So we become friends like that.
Yeah. And you bike now, you bike regularly around Metro.
I try to bike regularly. The problem is my work line of work
It's hard, no?
is hard to balance because I need to wake up early and I stay up late. So it's,
Any challenges biking around Metro Manila?
yeah, we still don't have the respect of motorists. Motorists still think that they own the road.
Yeah.
So that's a
Tama.
general. You get
Yeah.
honked at. They'll
And even if you're in their lane, they honk at you or they just
Yeah.
they try to push you to the side.
so
sometimes.
for me, I like biking in the city. I have a fixie also. I have a BAM bike fixie.
Okay.
That's what I like in the city because fixie. I learned the discipline of fixie. You're more connected with your bike.
But that's
So it's
tiring,
easier to
eh.
move. No, city lang.
Okay.
I'm not doing long rides with that. And so with that, I like biking the city because my brain is exercised just as much as my body is because I have to analyze the moves of every jeepney and every taxi and every tricycle.
Yeah, kasi fixie, you have to adjust, di ba?
And so your mind is always working the whole time you're biking. I cannot like listen to a podcast while biking because my concentration is on, di ba,
the route and
everything around me
Yeah.
because everything changes in an instant, di ba?
Tama. So, wow.
But
Cool.
yeah, we need to change the mindset of motorists that, roads. The truth is this is one thing that motorists don't understand. There are laws governing the use of the road by motorized vehicles.
Yes.
There are no laws governing the use of our roads by non-motorized vehicles.
I think that has to be looked into.
Yeah. They're not. So there's nothing that protects riders either. But there's nothing to say that bawal ang bike on the roads, right?
Yes. And some cyclists, yeah, they have.
In closed highways, yes, bawal ang bike. But these are closed highways. But every national road, every private road,
I think there has to be a campaign talaga.
we have to have sort of a basic law. But the problem is, let's say a cyclist breaks a biking law. What are you going to do? Get their license? There's no license for
There's not.
biking.
There's not.
You're a pedestrian and essentially on wheels, right?
And before, they had they registered the bikes, diba? And
Yeah.
yung metal pa na they had to hammer the serial number of the bike. Sakit yun.
Yeah.
So that has to be looked into. So
Yeah, but it's a tricky, slippery slope, because what are you going to do? Regulate bikers? You have to make them apply now for a biking permit, di ba?
yeah, there's some who do that, but medyo mahirap eh.
Yeah.
It's hard.
No, but I think in the end, for as long as there's a respect and understanding,
That's what's important.
that's what
what's key,
education
diba?
is about. That both the rider and
The cyclist.
motorist, even the motorist and the cyclist, have to understand each other's limitations, di ba? But they also must be open to each other.
Tama.
Right? So, motorcycles and cars have as much rights on the use of the road as we do as cyclists, because we also pay our taxes.
Exactly. Di ba?
The mindset though is people think that roads were built for cars.
No. No.
In the
But
old days, roads were built for horses and
carriages.
carriages and
Exactly,
whatever,
yeah.
right? So, and in fact, this is the sad part, because it was all horses before and people walking. We used to tree line our roads
Yes.
for shade.
Yes.
There are
Now,
trees
wala
anymore
na.
because we have shade in our car. So the mindset again is, di ako magbabike kasi pangkotse talaga to, yung ganun. So we need to change people's mindset about accepting that the use of the road is for everyone.
Tama.
That's all.
Oo. With that,
Yeah.
Albert,
Ang
is there
haba nito.
yeah, and is there something like before we go na share your thoughts about the restaurant industry and like tips for people who go out?
No, siguro I can leave you guys with one, something I indoctrinate on my staff, no, about motivation, about there has to be motivation kasi for everyone. And what I tell them is, never look at money as your source of motivation.
Okay.
So I know that we work for money. That's what makes us work, because
Yes.
we need money. But in our restaurant industry, I always say, your customer satisfaction should be your motivation. Because if they're satisfied, then the money follows.
Tama.
And it will keep following because they're always satisfied. Then look at money, not as a motivation, but as a reward for what you do.
Very wise words.
Diba?
It makes a lot of sense actually. It does.
So this is something I hope is in their heads, because that's how I feel about money right now. We need the money.
Yeah.
That's why we do what we do, right? But if your primary motivation is your customers' happiness, the impact you have on
It
them,
will come.
then the money should come.
It should come.
Right.
Tama.
And that's the wise words I will leave with all of you.
Thank
now.
you very much. All right. That was a great talk.
Long talk.
Long talk.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking
Yeah.
with you.
It was my pleasure talking to you.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, everyone. And
Yeah.
see you out there. Please, Amping Kanunay and Albert, see you on the road.
See you on the road.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.